don't fuck with Stephen Lang, okay? That dude will fuck up your life. What's up, guys? My name's Kyle, and today I'm going to be reviewing Don't Breathe. If you don't know what it is, you really should, but it is the second feature from Fede Alvarez, the director of the fantastic Evil Dead remake. Now, what Don't Breathe is about is basically this group of these three teenagers make a living by breaking into houses. And so they find out about this blind guy who just so happens to have a shitload of money in his house. So they figure, why not go rob him? You don't fucking rob a blind guy. Especially not when he's an Iraq war vet. And especially not when he's Stephen Lang. Trying to think where the best place to begin is. Because I can't spoil this movie. I feel so strongly about it that I just don't want to give away any spoilers whatsoever. And usually I will give away a decent amount of spoilers or tell you a little bit more about the plot. But I mean, that's all the setup you need to know going into this movie. If you've learned anything else, it kind of will fuck up the experience for you. It's just such a tense horror movie. And it's something that we've been severely lacking for a really long time. I am sick and fucking tired of seeing shit like Paranormal Activity and Ouija. So the thing is that, you know, this movie definitely has a very simple premise. You know, it's only 4 characters, and then there's like, you know, 1 or 2 side characters, but they're seriously in the movie for like 2 minutes. And it delivers on its premise. You know, it was very clever to start with, but the execution here was just perfect. You can really tell by the use of the sound design here. You feel like you're with the characters from the minute you get into the action to the minute you get the hell out. It's just so jam-packed with tension. There's not a whole lot of like jump scares or anything like that, but when it does use the jump scares, they're really effective. It's really brutal in a lot of ways, but not in the gory sense, you know? You're constantly just sitting there like, what's gonna happen next? Where is this guy? How are they gonna get out of here? They find a solution and then, you know, immediately it gets thwarted in some way and you're just on the edge of your seat the entire time. I don't know if I would say that it completely subverts expectations, but I feel like it does a good job of keeping you guessing, which is very important in a film like this because, I mean, you know, you have 2 characters basically running away from fucking crazy dude. To get that across is not an easy feat. You got to keep it fresh constantly, and this movie does that. It reminded me a lot of something like 10 Cloverfield Lane, and there's even elements of like Cujo in here. I'm going to spoil this, but I mean, it's in the trailers, so you should know about this. There's a dog in the movie. Man, fuck that dog. That dog is terrifying too. Dude's terrifying, dog is terrifying. You can't win. But anyway, the sound design in this movie is super tight. You're always hearing every single little creak, almost every little piece of dust in the air. You know, if there was a pin drop, you could hear it. You're just constantly looking at the surroundings and then analyzing for sound and just like, oh shit, did he hear that? If he did, does he know which direction it's coming from? You don't fucking know. And that is a really important element in this film. If they had screwed up on the sound design, I feel like a lot of the film would have fallen apart. Because it's definitely not a dialogue-driven film. There's a few pieces of dialogue, but honestly, I can't even imagine the effort it must have taken to write this script and get it really tight. Because action drives this movie forward. And if you know anything about screenwriting, you know that action, it's a lot easier to convey than dialogue. Dialogue will take up large chunks of your page, whereas action might only take up a couple of lines, depending on who it is. With Fede Alvarez being a writer and director, you can only imagine how much time and effort it took to get this script exactly pitch perfect. It could not have been an easy feat. Especially because he had a writing partner. That's fucking crazy. I'm not going to say flawless, but it's a pretty tight movie. If I had one issue with the way that it's scripted, it almost falls into that like never-ending movie syndrome, but it like brushes up against that edge, and then you're fine. If you know about 3-act structure, basically this is the structure. You run a cat up a tree. You throw rocks at the cat. You let the cat get down. Pretty straightforward, right? Well, with this movie, you run the cat up the tree. You throw rocks at the cat. You let the cat start to climb down a little bit, and then you throw more rocks at him. You let him start to climb down again, and then you throw more rocks at him. And it just keeps repeating. But then there's a certain point where, you know for a fact that it's the end because of their use of in media res. Thankfully, they included that in the hook of the movie. They include that specific scene in the beginning of the movie so that you know that the movie's almost over when it pops back up again. So you're not sitting there like, oh my God, please end. But if this movie had been like 5 minutes longer, I probably would have been like, I'm kind of done. The main reason why this movie was so engaging to me is because it does a lot to scare the audience. It just ratchets up the tension way more than most films will do. And that's impressive, man. Like, I know that Fede Alvarez did a really good job with the Evil Dead remake. I loved it. But I was concerned going into this movie that I was like, well, he understands the gore. Does he get the tension? And yes, he fucking does. So if he can combine those two worlds in his next film, it's gonna be the best fucking horror movie you've ever seen. This dude, I'm pretty sure he's gonna be the modern day John Carpenter because he seems like he's a really versatile guy. The cinematography is awesome in this film. There's one shot towards the beginning of the film that's really cool. It's this tracking shot. Seems like they used a Steadicam or glide cam. And, it seems like it's pretty straightforward, but it's like a POV shot. Shoots up through these stairs. Camera kind of flips around a little bit and starts going down this hallway. Then it goes into this room and kind of makes a turn. And then it goes under this bed and then up and around. It's fucking crazy. I feel like maybe there was a part of it that was CGI, but I don't know. It was really a really nice shot. And then there's this whole sequence where they have this like night vision mode on. Oh man, that scene is so freaking nerve-wracking because you can tell that the characters can't see jack shit. I don't know if they actually filmed in a dark room, but it definitely feels like they fucking did. Like, I feel like they just pushed the actors in there. It was like, all right, don't trip, have at it. It was really impressive. This film really makes dudes with guns scary again, which is fucking important. Because guns are scary. Guns kill people all the time. And yet we watch like action movies and TV shows and horror movies and the gun, you're like, yeah, I guess it's scary, but I mean, I think a guy with a machete is more scary. But in this movie, the gunshots are just fucking loud and brutal and there's sparks flying everywhere. They took a lot of time for sure to develop the effects of gunfire in this movie. And that definitely adds to the effectiveness of the film. The last thing I'm going to touch on is that I had 2 gripes. This film doesn't have a whole lot of character development. It's very bare bones. The girl who's the main protagonist, she's in a really shitty living situation, which is why she wants to get the money. She wants to get the money, move out of her house. That's pretty much all we learn about her. But then her friend, you don't really know why he's into robbing these people's houses. He seems like an innocent kid. He just seems like maybe he got roped into it because he's like in love with the girl or something, but you don't really fucking know. And then there's a third guy, Money. Fuck that guy. He's a piece of shit and he dies right away. Forget about him. He's useless and I'm so glad they killed him right away. I just would have liked to see a little bit more character development overall. It's not that big of a complaint because, they give you enough to work with and you actually want the characters to get out alive, which is more than most horror movies can say. My other gripe is that this film definitely takes stuff a little bit too far. Don't bring your kids to this movie. Don't bring your children to this movie. I'm dead serious. Don't do it. You might think, oh, well, it's probably not that bad. I mean, it doesn't look like that bloody or gory or whatever. It's not. But there's one scene in particular that's just, you can't show that to kids. It's not cool. It will fuck them up. And it's a little bit in poor taste. But I liked it. At the end of the day, I liked it. It reminded me of some of the stuff that was in Evil Dead in the way that was like, okay, you took shit a little bit too far, but I'm cool with it. Because I never see that type of stuff, but I'm glad you did it. A lot of the stuff is unbelievable. Because you keep thinking these people are going to get out, and then they fucking don't because of some really weird reason. And you're like, well, what the fuck? And then you kind of just let it pass because you gotta suspend your disbelief a little bit. But it's really not hard to do when they've crafted such a wonderful movie in the first place. So, all that being said, I think my final score for this film is gonna have to be an 8.5. Don't Breathe is a really solid film. Go check it out. And that's it. Peace! Holy shit, it's late. It's 5 a.m. right now and I'm recording this. Anyway, if you liked the video, hit like, and if you really liked it, hit subscribe. I've also got 2 other videos here for you, a Rebirth review and a criminal review. Thanks for tuning in. Until we meet again.